Stars news from Nigeria. Nigerian police detain Afrobeats star Naira Marley over the unaliving of MohBad. The boss of Rising Singer's former music label has denied any involvement in the unexplained unaliving, and indeed, police in Nigeria have detained the Afrobeat star and record label boss Naira Marley for questioning over the unaliving of the fast-rising singer MohBad last month. We've all seen the very devastating videos of near riots in the streets over this unaliving. MohBad's unaliving in unexplained circumstances on the 12th of September at the age of 27 led to an outpouring of grief among his fans and sent ripples throughout the multi-billion-dollar Afrobeats music genre. 3 months earlier, he had sent a petition to Nigeria's main criminal investigation department alleging assault and threats to his life by his former boss, Marley, with whom he had been feuding after leaving his label, Marley and Records, in light of what has been discovered and alleged in the unaliving of Tupac and also of Biggie Smalls when it comes to these labels and the people running them. And if you feel like you have the right to leave and take your business elsewhere, never mind if you're going to create your own label, they see it potentially, allegedly, as digging in their own pockets, and they feel entitled to do something about it, in my opinion, for entertainment and educational purposes only. On Tuesday, Lagos State Police said they had taken Marley into custody to help with their investigation into MohBad's death. Marley, who has previously denied any involvement in the unaliving, earlier wrote on Twitter that he would be meeting with police, quote, with hopes for the truth to be uncovered and for justice to prevail, unquote. Quote, it's important that I do my part for Imole, unquote, Marley said, using another name by which MohBad was known. MohBad was unalived in a hospital, or became unalive in a hospital in Lagos, after reportedly being admitted with an ear infection, and was buried the next day in accordance with Yoruba customs. The cause of death was unclear, and police subsequently exhumed his body to conduct an autopsy, the results of which have not been released yet. A coroner's inquest is due to resume on 13th October. Since MohBad's unaliving, fans have marched through the streets of several Nigerian cities calling for a thorough investigation. Spontaneous memorial gatherings have also been organized in London, Canada, and the US, and the hashtag Justice for MohBad hashtag has gone viral on social media. Tributes poured in from abroad from artists including Cardi B, Nicki Minaj, and Meek Mill, and the La Liga football club Cadiz honored him by hanging a football top in their changing room before a recent match with the number 27 and his name printed on it. MohBad signed to the Marleyan music label founded by Marley in 2019, but ended his contract last year. Since his unaliving, videos have emerged in which he accused people from his label of harassment and cheating him of royalties. Marley has called the claims, quote, lies, unquote, and said before his arrest that he did not, quote, have a hand in the unaliving of MohBad, either directly or indirectly. The Afrobeats genre, like reggae and dancehall before it, has resonated in West Africa and with mainstream audiences around the world. Nigerian artists as Burna Boy, Davido, Wizkid, and Rema have scored big hits and played to sell-out audiences at concerts and music festivals. The genre reached a milestone this summer when Burna Boy became the first Afrobeats artist to top the UK charts with I Told Them. Observers have long spoken, however, of a dark side to the industry. With 70% of Nigeria's 200 million population aged under 30 and youth unemployment as a big problem, music is often seen as the only pathway to a fulfilling life. The quest to, quote, blow, street slang used to describe hitting the big time, can trap budding artists from underprivileged backgrounds into deeply lopsided recording contracts. Sound familiar? South Korea? Sound familiar? Bad boy? Come out and play. Lopsided recording contracts with unregulated music labels and vampiric promoters, industry insiders have said. A bill submitted in Parliament calling for the establishment of a commission to investigate alleged bullying and harassment in the industry to regulate labels has had a first reading. MohBad, who was brought up in Ikorodu, an underprivileged working-class neighborhood in Lagos, Nigeria's commercial hub, had to pause his education for 2 years because he could not afford school fees. You see that? Like, people always question, oh, why are people trying to immigrate to other countries or immigrate to America? In other countries, there is no free public school education. And we think it's so terrible here, and we think it's, not a big deal, but it is a big deal. You don't go to school if you don't pay. In many, many other parts of the world, you don't. And if your family doesn't have money, you probably aren't in a position to immigrate unless you do it at risk and illegally, in my opinion. Argue with me. Had to pause his education for 2 years because he could not afford school fees. His blend of catchy and streetwise Afro-Adura rap, as in 2020's hit single Ko Porke, KPK, delivered in a mix of his native Yoruba and Pidgin English, chimed with audiences. His mother, Olumi Abosedi, alleged that in his final days, my child will be crying all the time. They will be beating him whenever he goes for a show. He will tell me, quote, please do not allow them to unalive me, unquote. The case has become a litmus test for Nigerian police in the eyes of many young people. 3 years after the brutal suppression of the End SARS protests against police abuses, the Lagos State Commissioner of Police, speaking to #Justice for MohBad campaigners, promised to use the singer's unaliving to change the negative narrative about the law enforcement agencies. Idowu Omahunwa said, quote, you are looking for justice. I'm paid as a policeman to deliver justice. So there is a meeting point. We are in the same boat. Wow. That is devastating. Well, we all need to #justice for MohBad. That's very clear.